Chapter 1. Desert Dreams Under Starlit Skies. The New Mexico desert stretches endlessly in all directions, painted silver under the light of 1,000 stars. It's July 1947, and the night air carries the sweet scent of sage and the distant whisper of wind through ancient canyons. Out here, where the earth meets the infinite sky, time moves differently, slowly, peacefully. Above, the Milky Way spreads like scattered diamond dust across velvet darkness. Each point of light tells a story older than human memory, older than the red rocks that have stood sentinel in this desert for millions of years. The silence is profound, broken only by the gentle rustle of desert grass and the far-off call of a coyote singing to the moon. This is the American Southwest in summer, a place where ranchers rise with the sun and sleep under blankets of stars, where the horizon seems to curve with the earth itself, reminding anyone who looks that we live on a spinning ball of rock, floating through the cosmic ocean. Mac Brazel tends his sheep on the J.B. Foster Ranch, 30 miles northwest of the small town of Roswell. He's a quiet man, weathered by sun and wind, who knows every sound the desert makes, every bird call, every whisper of breeze through the mesquite. He's spent countless nights out here, watching shooting stars streak across the darkness like nature's own fireworks. But on this particular July night, something feels different. The sheep are restless, moving in gentle circles under the starlight. Mac stands beside his pickup truck, a thermos of coffee steaming in the cool desert air, and gazes upward. The stars seem brighter tonight, more alive, as if the entire universe is holding its breath, waiting for something extraordinary to happen. In the distance, Roswell sleeps peacefully. Street lamps cast gentle pools of amber light along Main Street, where the Palace Theater marquee advertises the latest picture show. Children dream in their beds while parents sit on front porches, listening to the radio and watching heat lightning dance on the horizon. It's America in 1947. The war is over. The boys have come home. There's a sense of infinite possibility in the air, a feeling that the future holds wonders beyond imagination. Television is still a novelty. Computers exist only in the minds of a few brilliant scientists. And space, well, space is still the realm of Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon. The military base southeast of town hums with quiet activity. Roswell Army Airfield, home to the 509th Composite Group. These are the men who dropped the atomic bombs on Japan, bringing an end to the most terrible war in human history. Now they train with new aircraft, experimental planes that push the boundaries of what's possible. Strange things have been reported in the skies lately. Pilots speaking in hushed tones about objects that move unlike any aircraft they know, disc-shaped things that hover silently, then streak away at impossible speeds. The newspapers call them flying saucers, a term coined just weeks ago by a pilot named Kenneth Arnold, who saw 9 mysterious objects near Mount Rainier. But here in the desert, under the gentle light of stars, such concerns feel distant and dreamlike. This is a place of peace, of wonder, of infinite sky stretching toward mysteries we can barely imagine. Mac checks on his sheep one more time, their white forms ghostly and beautiful in the starlight. Tomorrow he will make a discovery that changes everything. Tonight, he simply stands in the vastness, breathing deeply, grateful for the silence and the beauty and the sense that anything, absolutely anything, is possible. The desert keeps its secrets well. But sometimes, on nights like this, when the stars shine with unusual brightness and the wind carries whispers from beyond the horizon, those secrets begin to stir. Somewhere in the distance, a gentle light moves silently across the sky, no brighter than Venus, no stranger than a satellite that won't be invented for another decade. It drifts like a feather on cosmic currents, carrying dreams and possibilities toward the sleeping earth below. Chapter 2. Morning light on scattered dreams. Dawn arrives softly in the New Mexico desert, painting the eastern horizon in gentle shades of rose and gold. The sun climbs slowly above the distant mountains, casting long shadows across the rangeland where Mac Brazel tends his flock. It's going to be another beautiful day in this corner of the world, where the sky meets the earth in an endless embrace. Mac has been awake since before first light, as is his custom. Coffee brews over a small campfire, while he watches his sheep move peacefully across the desert floor. The morning air is cool and sweet, filled with the scent of sage and the promise of summer heat to come. He's thinking about the storm that passed through 3 nights ago. Quite a show it was. Lightning dancing across the entire sky like nature's own fireworks display. Thunder rolling across the desert in waves. The sheep huddled close together while rain fell in sheets, turning the dry earth dark and fragrant. Now, as he walks across his usual territory, something catches his eye. Scattered across a narrow area, perhaps 3/4 of a mile long, lie pieces of something. Strange debris that doesn't belong in this pristine wilderness. Mac approaches slowly, his boots crunching softly on the desert floor. The morning light reveals an unusual sight. Strips of what looks like metal, but lighter than aluminum. Pieces of wood-like material. Strips of something that resembles tin foil, but behaves unlike anything he's ever seen. He kneels down and picks up one of the metallic strips. It's incredibly light, almost weightless, but incredibly strong. When he tries to bend it, it snaps back to its original shape. When he crumples it in his hands, it unfolds itself perfectly flat, without a single crease or wrinkle. How curious. The material feels warm to the touch, despite spending the cool night under desert stars. It has an almost silky texture, smooth as water but solid as stone. When he holds it up to the morning light, it seems to shimmer with colors that shift and change like oil on water. Mac is a practical man. He's seen plenty of aircraft wreckage over the years. Military planes from the base sometimes crash in the desert. But this is different, unlike anything in his experience. Some of the debris bears strange markings, not letters or numbers as he knows them, but symbols that flow like writing might look if written by someone who had never seen earthly script. They're beautiful, in their own way, elegant curves and geometric patterns that seem to dance in the morning light. He gathers several pieces and loads them into his pickup truck. The debris is so light that armloads of it weigh no more than a bag of groceries. Yet it feels substantial, important, as if these scattered remnants carry stories he cannot begin to understand. The drive to Roswell takes 40 minutes along dirt roads that wind through spectacular desert scenery. Mesas rise like ancient castles in the distance. Hawks circle overhead on thermals that lift them effortlessly toward the deep blue sky. Mac's first stop is the home of his neighbors, Floyd and Loretta Proctor. They've been friends for years, sharing the quiet companionship of desert folk who understand that out here, neighbors matter. Floyd examines the strange material with the same wonder Mac felt when he first discovered it. "Never seen anything like it," Floyd says, turning a piece over in his weathered hands. "Light as a feather, but try to cut it." They try with a sharp knife. The blade won't even scratch the surface. "What do you reckon it is?" Loretta asks, her voice soft with amazement. Mac shrugs, but his eyes hold the brightness of someone who has encountered genuine mystery. "Figured I might take some pieces into town. Show them to the sheriff. Maybe someone at the base would know." The conversation flows easily, the way it does between old friends sharing something unprecedented. They examine each piece carefully, marveling at its properties, the way it catches the light, the way it feels simultaneously foreign and somehow familiar. Outside, the desert continues its ancient dance with the sky. Clouds build slowly over distant mountains, promising another afternoon thunderstorm. The endless cycle of weather and seasons that has played out here for millennia before humans walked this land, and will continue long after they're gone. But today feels different. Today feels like the beginning of something new. In the growing warmth of morning, the mysterious debris tells its silent story to anyone willing to listen. Each piece a word in a language not yet understood. Each fragment a breadcrumb on a trail leading toward questions humanity has asked since first looking up at the stars. Are we alone? Chapter 3. Secrets Whispered on Desert Winds. Sheriff George Wilcox sits in his office on Main Street, sipping coffee and watching the morning traffic of Roswell drift by his window. It's a peaceful town, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, where the biggest excitement usually involves high school football games and county fairs. The bell above his door chimes softly as Mac Brazel enters, carrying a cardboard box that seems almost too light for its size. Mac is a man of few words, but his eyes hold the intensity of someone who has seen something beyond explanation. "Sheriff," Mac says simply, setting the box on the wooden desk. "Found some debris out on the ranch. Thought you might want to take a look." What follows is a conversation that will echo through decades. Wilcox examines each piece with growing amazement. The strange, weightless metal that refuses to stay bent. The fragments covered in hieroglyphic-like symbols. Materials that seem to belong to no earthly origin he can identify. "Mac," Wilcox says slowly, "I think this might be something for the folks out at the base." The call to Roswell Army Airfield connects immediately. Within an hour, a military vehicle arrives at the sheriff's office. Major Jesse Marcel, the base intelligence officer, steps out wearing the confident bearing of a man who has seen much of the world and its mysteries. Marcel is no ordinary soldier. He's an experienced intelligence officer who served in the Pacific Theater during the war. He knows aircraft wreckage. He knows enemy materials. He knows what belongs to the American military and what doesn't. But as he examines Mac's collection, his composed military demeanor shifts to something approaching wonder. "I've never seen anything like this," he admits, his voice quiet with amazement. The confession carries weight coming from a man whose job it is to identify unknown objects and materials. Marcel arranges to accompany Mac back to the debris field. The drive through the desert passes in contemplative silence, both men lost in thoughts about what they might find scattered across the rangeland. The debris field stretches further than Mac had initially described. Under the full light of day, it becomes clear that something significant occurred here. Not just a simple crash, but something that scattered materials across nearly a mile of desert floor. Marcel moves methodically, his trained eye cataloging everything. The debris follows a distinct pattern, as if something had come apart while moving at tremendous speed. The heaviest concentrations lie at one end, with lighter fragments scattered in a long tail extending across the desert. As afternoon heat shimmers off the rangeland, Marcel fills several vehicles with the mysterious materials. Each piece is carefully documented, though he has no earthly category to place them in. The metal that behaves like memory. The wood-like beams covered in indecipherable symbols. Fragments of something that looks like foil but possesses properties no terrestrial material exhibits. The drive back to the base passes in thoughtful silence. Marcel carries with him not just physical debris, but the weight of questions that challenge everything he thought he knew about what's possible in this world. That evening, as the sun sets behind the western mountains, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples, Marcel sits in his office at Roswell Army Airfield. Before him, spread across his desk, lie fragments of mystery that refuse easy explanation. He thinks about his training, his experience, his years of identifying aircraft and weapons from around the world. Nothing in that vast knowledge prepares him for what he holds in his hands. Outside his window, the desert stretches toward the horizon where the first stars are beginning to appear in the darkening sky. The same stars that have watched over this land for millions of years, keeping their secrets in silent, infinite depths. Marcel picks up his telephone to make the calls that will set in motion events far beyond his control. But for a moment, he simply sits in the growing darkness, holding fragments of the impossible, wondering what forces in this vast universe might have scattered dreams across the desert floor. The night wind begins to blow, carrying the scent of sage and the whispers of mysteries that dance just beyond human understanding. In offices and homes across the region, telephones ring with urgent, quiet conversations about something that shouldn't exist, but undeniably does. Chapter 4. When Morning Broke. The Silence. Colonel William Blanchard, commanding officer of Roswell Army Airfield, arrives at his office before dawn, as is his custom. The morning air is cool and still, filled with the promise of another blazing desert day. But today will be unlike any other in his military career. Major Marcel's report lies on his desk, along with photographs and samples of the debris recovered from the ranch. Blanchard is a decorated officer, a man who helped end a world war, someone accustomed to making decisions under pressure. But as he examines the evidence before him, he enters territory beyond his considerable experience. The materials defy classification. The photographs show debris scattered across rangeland in patterns that suggest no conventional aircraft accident. Marcel's detailed description chronicles properties that belong in science fiction rather than military intelligence reports. At 0800 hours, Blanchard makes a decision that will reverberate through history. He authorizes a press release. The call goes to Lieutenant Walter Haut, the base public information officer. Haut is a straightforward man who believes in the importance of honest communication between the military and the American people. The war is over. Secrecy, he believes, should be reserved for genuine threats to national security. Walt, Blanchard says simply, "We've recovered a flying disc. I want you to prepare a press release." The words hang in the morning air like incense in a cathedral. A flying disc. In 1947, those words carry possibilities that stretch the boundaries of imagination. Haut types the release on his manual typewriter, each keystroke echoing in the quiet office. The language is precise, military in its directness. The many rumors regarding the flying disc became a reality yesterday when the intelligence office of the 509th Bomb Group of the 8th Air Force, Roswell Army Airfield, was fortunate enough to gain possession of a disc through the cooperation of one of the local ranchers and the sheriff's office of Chaves County. By noon, the story races across telegraph wires to newspapers around the world. Radio announcers interrupt regular programming to share the astounding news. For a few precious hours, humanity stands on the threshold of acknowledging that we are not alone in the vast cosmic ocean. The Roswell Daily Record prepares an afternoon edition with headlines that will become legendary. RAF captures flying saucer on ranch in Roswell region. But even as the ink dries on newspaper presses, other forces are setting events in motion. Telephone calls flash between Roswell and higher military commands. Washington, D.C. awakens to news that requires immediate attention from the highest levels of government. Generals and intelligence officials who spent the war managing information understand the implications of what has occurred. By mid-afternoon, Brigadier General Roger Ramey, commander of the 8th Air Force, personally flies to Roswell from his headquarters in Texas. His arrival signals a shift in how this unprecedented situation will be handled. Ramey is the experienced officer who understands both the power of information and the necessity of controlling it. As he examines the debris in a secure hangar at Roswell Army Airfield, he makes calculations that extend far beyond the military implications of the discovery. The world in 1947 is a delicate place. The Cold War is beginning. Nuclear weapons have changed everything about warfare and international relations. The last thing America needs, Ramey concludes, is panic about invaders from space. By evening, a second press conference is hastily arranged. This time, the story changes completely. The debris, Ramey announces to gathered reporters, is nothing more than remnants of a weather balloon. A classified military project, certainly, but nothing more exotic than meteorological equipment used for atmospheric research. To support this explanation, different debris is displayed, conventional materials that any reporter can identify. The strange memory metal fragments have vanished. The beams with hieroglyphic markings are nowhere to be seen. Major Marcel stands beside the general, his expression carefully controlled. The same man who hours earlier described materials unlike anything in his experience now nods as Ramey explains away the mystery with mundane meteorological equipment. As night falls over the desert, the story that briefly suggested humanity was not alone fades into official silence. But in the hearts of those who touched the impossible, who held fragments of mystery in their hands, the memory burns bright as starlight, waiting for the day when truth might finally walk free under the infinite sky. Chapter 5. The Weight of Gentle Silence. Glenn Dennis works the quiet evening shift at Ballard Funeral Home in Roswell, a peaceful establishment where families come to honor their departed loved ones. The mortuary business in a small town moves at the gentle pace of life itself, most of the time. But on this July evening, his telephone rings with unusual urgency. The caller identifies himself as someone from the base, speaking in clipped professional tones about a matter requiring immediate attention. The conversation is brief, businesslike, and deeply unsettling. "We need several small caskets," the voice says without preamble. "Child-sized, hermetically sealed. Can you provide them?" Dennis, accustomed to the sorrows that bring people to his profession, asks the natural question. What happened? Was there an accident involving children? The response is evasive, official, final. "Just let us know if you can provide what we need." After hanging up, Dennis sits in the quiet of his office, troubled by something he cannot name. The request strikes him as unusual, not just for its specificity but for its tone. There's an urgency beneath the bureaucratic language that suggests something far more complex than a routine military matter. Later that evening, Dennis drives to the base hospital on an unrelated matter, delivering supplies for a funeral service. The facility normally operates with calm efficiency, medical personnel going about their duties with professional competence. Tonight feels different. Military police patrol areas usually accessible to civilian contractors. Personnel move with heightened alertness. There's an electric tension in the air, as if everyone is participating in something unprecedented and deeply classified. As Dennis completes his delivery, he encounters a nurse he's known for months. She's a competent, level-headed professional who has seen everything that military medicine can present. But tonight her composure seems shaken. "Glenn," she says quietly, glancing around to ensure they're not overheard. "Something incredible has happened. Something not from here." Her words are carefully chosen, but her meaning carries implications that stretch toward the stars themselves. She describes briefly, in whispers, things she has seen that challenge her medical training and her understanding of biology itself. "Bodies," she says simply, "but not human bodies." The conversation is brief, interrupted by approaching footsteps. Military personnel escort Dennis from the facility with polite firmness that carries unmistakable authority. He's asked not to return unless specifically requested, and advised that discretion regarding anything he might have seen or heard would be appreciated. Driving home through the desert night, Dennis contemplates the strange confluence of events. The mysterious debris discovered by Mac Brazel, the military's sudden interest in small sealed caskets, a nurse's whispered account of bodies that defy conventional explanation. Above him, the stars shine with their eternal brightness, the same lights that have watched over Earth since before humans walked upright. Each point of light represents a sun, possibly with planets, possibly with life that might look up at their own night sky and wonder if they're alone in the vast cosmic ocean. The questions that arise from this July night will follow Dennis for the rest of his life. Not because he seeks attention or notoriety, but because some experiences change a person fundamentally. Some encounters with mystery leave marks that time cannot erase. In the decades to come, Dennis will speak carefully about that evening, always aware that his words carry weight beyond their simple meaning. He will describe not just what he observed, but how it felt to stand at the edge of a secret that could change humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. But tonight, driving through the peaceful desert darkness, he simply wonders what forces in this infinite sky might have brought visitors to the lonely rangeland outside Roswell, New Mexico. The night wind carries the scent of sage and possibility. Somewhere in the darkness, in facilities secured behind military authority, personnel work with materials and perhaps beings that represent questions humanity has asked since first looking up at the stars. Are we alone? And if not alone, what wonders await in the infinite depths of space? Chapter 6. Guardians of Whispered Truths. Major Jesse Marcel sits in his quarters at Roswell Army Airfield as midnight approaches, staring at a photograph he will carry in his memory for the rest of his life. The image shows him kneeling beside debris that defied every category of identification he knew. Earlier today, He stood in front of reporters and nodded as his commanding officer explained away the impossible as mere weather balloon remnants. The same debris Marcel had described in his initial report as not of this world was now, officially, nothing more than conventional meteorological equipment. The weight of that contradiction settles on his shoulders like desert dust. Marcel is a career military officer who understands the necessity of following orders. He's seen enough of war to know that sometimes larger considerations must override individual convictions, but he's also an intelligence professional trained to recognize truth, to document facts, to report what he observes without coloration or interpretation, and what he observed in that debris field challenged everything he thought he knew about what's possible in this world. The memory burns with crystal clarity. Materials that behaved like nothing in his extensive experience. Metal strips that returned to perfect flatness no matter how they were crumpled. Beam-like structures covered in symbols that resembled no earthly language. Fragments so light they seemed to float, yet incredibly strong. In his private moments, Marcel allows himself to consider possibilities that official explanations cannot accommodate. If the materials he examined came from elsewhere, what did that mean for humanity's understanding of its place in the universe? Across town, Sheriff George Wilcox locks his office and walks slowly home along Main Street. Roswell sleeps peacefully under starlight, unaware that their quiet community has become the center of something that might rewrite human understanding of reality itself. Wilcox has been asked, politely but firmly, to refrain from discussing the debris Mac Brazel brought to his office. The request came with official authority and implied consequences for non-compliance. As an elected official, Wilcox understands the delicate balance between serving his community and respecting legitimate government interests. But in his heart, he carries questions that official silence cannot answer. Mac Brazel returns to his ranch and his sheep, but the desert feels different now. What once seemed like a place of peaceful solitude now carries suggestions of vastness that extends beyond the horizon, beyond Earth's atmosphere, toward possibilities he can barely imagine. The debris field has been thoroughly cleared by military personnel who worked with methodical efficiency. Every fragment, every piece of unusual material, every trace of the extraordinary has been collected and removed. The desert floor shows no sign that anything unprecedented ever occurred here. Yet Mac remembers the weight of mystery in his hands, the feel of materials that belong to no earthly category, the sense that he had touched something from beyond the boundaries of human experience. At the base, personnel work through the night with materials and perhaps discoveries that require the highest levels of security classification. Hangar doors remain closed. Access is restricted to only those with the most essential need to know. Official reports will describe conventional explanations for everything that occurred. But in the quiet conversations between trusted colleagues, in the private moments when professional masks slip away, questions persist that official answers cannot satisfy. What forces in the vast universe might have brought visitors to this remote corner of New Mexico? If we are not alone in the cosmic ocean, what does first contact mean for humanity's future? How do you announce to the world that everything they believed about their place in the universe might need to be reconsidered? The stars continue their eternal dance overhead, keeping secrets in depths of space that stretch beyond imagination. Each point of light represents a sun, possibly warming planets, possibly nurturing life that might also look up at their own night sky and wonder about the infinite possibilities that exist among the stars. In the growing silence of official explanations, the memory of mystery persists in the hearts of those who witnessed the impossible. Like seeds buried in desert soil, waiting for the right season to bloom, the truth keeps its own schedule, patient as starlight, enduring as the ancient rocks that have watched over this land since before humans walked upright. Chapter 7. Seeds of Tomorrow's Questions. 30 years pass like seasons in the desert. The sagebrush continues its ancient dance with wind and weather. The stars shine with their eternal brightness. Children grow up and have children of their own. Roswell, New Mexico, remains a quiet community where neighbors know each other and life moves at the gentle pace of small-town America. But seeds planted on that July night in 1947 have been growing in darkness. waiting for their season to bloom. Major Jesse Marcel, now retired from military service, sits on his front porch in Louisiana, watching his grandchildren play in the yard. Age has given him perspective on the extraordinary events he witnessed decades ago. Time has also given him distance from the military constraints that once required his silence. In careful, measured words, he begins to share his memories with researchers who have come seeking truth about what happened in the desert that long ago summer. His account carries the weight of decades of contemplation, the gravity of a man who touched mystery and was forever changed by the experience. I was familiar with all materials used in aircraft and in air travel, Marcel tells his listeners. What I found was nothing like that. It was not anything from this world. His words carry across the country through books and documentaries, television programs, and magazine articles. Each retelling plants new seeds of curiosity in minds, ready to consider possibilities beyond conventional explanation. Stanton Friedman, a nuclear physicist turned UFO researcher, begins assembling testimonies from witnesses who were present during those pivotal days in 1947. His methodical scientific approach lends credibility to accounts that might otherwise be dismissed as fantasy or delusion. Glenn Dennis, now an elderly funeral director, shares his memories of that strange evening when the military called, requesting small, sealed caskets. His account adds dimensions to the story that extend beyond mere debris recovery into questions about what might have been found intact in the desert. Other witnesses emerge from decades of silence. Military personnel who were stationed at Roswell Army Airfield, civilians who lived in the area, people who carried fragments of extraordinary experience for 30 years, waiting for a time when their testimonies might be received with serious consideration. Each account adds detail to a picture that grows increasingly difficult to explain through conventional means. The stories corroborate each other in ways that suggest shared experience of something genuinely unprecedented. Mac Brazel has passed away, taking his memories with him to whatever realm awaits beyond earthly experience. But his discovery set in motion events that continue to ripple through time like rings spreading across still water. The official explanation remains unchanged. Weather balloon, classified military project, nothing more extraordinary than meteorological research equipment scattered across desert rangeland by summer storms. But the power of witness testimony begins to challenge official narratives. The cumulative weight of multiple accounts from credible sources creates momentum that bureaucratic silence cannot entirely contain. Television producers recognize compelling story material. Authors sense public fascination with questions about humanity's place in the universe. Hollywood screenwriters understand the dramatic possibilities inherent in first contact scenarios. Slowly, like dawn breaking over the eastern mountains, the Roswell incident begins its transformation from classified military matter to cultural phenomenon. Tourist buses begin arriving in the small New Mexico town. Visitors come seeking connection to mystery, hoping to stand where extraordinary events might have unfolded. Local businesses adapt to serve curiosity seekers drawn by possibility and wonder. The International UFO Museum opens on Main Street, not far from where Sheriff Wilcox first examined fragments of the impossible. Display cases hold replicas of debris described by witnesses. Photographs and documents tell stories that official sources neither confirm nor entirely deny. Yet beneath the commercial aspects of UFO tourism lies something deeper and more significant. A hunger for connection to mysteries larger than daily existence. A yearning to believe that consciousness and intelligence exist beyond the boundaries of Earth, that we are not alone in the vast cosmic ocean. As night falls over the desert where it all began, the stars shine with their eternal brightness. Each point of light represents possibilities that stretch imagination toward infinite horizons. The truth about what happened on that July night in 1947 continues its patient journey toward revelation, carried forward by the testimony of those who witnessed the impossible and found the courage to share their memories with a world ready to listen. Chapter 8. Where Starlight Meets Memory. The desert wind carries stories tonight, whispers of mystery that dance through the sage and mesquite like ancient songs seeking voices to sing them. 50 years have passed since Mac Brazel found fragments of the impossible scattered across his rangeland. Yet the questions born that July morning continue to grow like desert flowers after rain. In living rooms across America, families gather around television screens to watch documentaries about Roswell. Children ask their grandparents whether we're alone in the universe. Scientists debate the possibilities while skeptics offer rational explanations. The story has become part of our cultural conversation, a shared wondering about what might exist in the infinite depths of space. Major Jesse Marcel lived long enough to see his testimony spark imagination around the world. In his final years, he spoke with quiet conviction about materials that defied conventional explanation, about a discovery that challenged everything he thought he knew about humanity's place in the cosmos. "I have no doubt," he would say in his gentle Louisiana accent, "that what we found was not of this earth." Glenn Dennis, now in his twilight years, still receives visitors seeking details about that strange evening when military personnel called requesting small caskets. His memories have acquired the weight of history, testimonies that add pieces to a puzzle that may never be complete. The desert itself remains largely unchanged. Sagebrush grows where debris once lay scattered. Sheep graze peacefully under the same endless sky that sheltered mystery decades ago. The land keeps its secrets with the patience of geological time, neither confirming nor denying the extraordinary events witnesses claim occurred here. Roswell has embraced its role as the most famous UFO destination on Earth. Street lamps shaped like alien heads line Main Street. Restaurants serve alien burgers to tourists who come seeking connection to mystery. The annual UFO festival draws thousands of visitors who gather to celebrate questions that stretch toward the stars. Yet beneath the commercial celebration lies something deeper. A genuine hunger for connection to mysteries larger than daily existence. A yearning to believe that intelligence and consciousness exist beyond Earth's boundaries, that the universe is alive with possibilities we can barely imagine. The truth about what happened in July 1947 may never be fully known. Government documents remain classified. Official explanations haven't changed in 5 decades. Weather balloon, classified project. Nothing more extraordinary than military meteorological equipment. But witness testimonies persist like starlight, bright and constant across the years. Stories that refuse to fade. Memories that carry the weight of extraordinary experience. Accounts that suggest, however tentatively, that we may not be alone in the vast cosmic ocean that surrounds our small blue world. As you drift towards sleep tonight, carried by the gentle rhythm of this desert tale, let your mind wander among the infinite possibilities that dance in the darkness above. Each star represents a sun, possibly warming planets, possibly nurturing life that might also look up at their own night sky and wonder. Perhaps, on worlds circling distant suns, other beings tell stories about the night. Mysterious visitors came from the direction of a yellow star, carrying fragments of technology and dreams across the void between worlds. Perhaps consciousness and intelligence are more common in the universe than we imagine. Perhaps the cosmos is filled with civilizations sharing the same questions we ask as we gaze upward into infinite space. The desert wind grows gentler now, carrying the scent of sage and the whisper of ancient secrets. Stars shine with their eternal brightness, keeping watch over a world where mystery and wonder dance hand in hand through the imagination of anyone brave enough to believe that anything, absolutely anything, is possible. In the growing quiet of night, where dreams begin their soft journey toward morning, the story of Roswell continues its patient journey toward whatever truth awaits in the infinite depths of space and time. Close your eyes now, and let the desert wind carry you gently toward sleep. Above, the stars keep their ancient vigil, bright and constant as lighthouse beacons marking paths through the cosmic ocean, toward mysteries yet to be discovered, wonders yet to be explored, and questions that will guide humanity's journey among the stars. Sleep well, dreamers. The universe is vast and full of possibilities. Sweet dreams among the infinite stars.